Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. Welcome to the 10th session of our course Yoga and Positive Psychology for Managing Career and Life. In today's session, we will continue our discussion on the ways of attaining well-being in yogic perspective. Well-being is reflection of efficient and effective managing self. That's why we are going to have this discussion about well-being in great detail. Yogic perspective of well-being is very much parallel to the Ayurvedic perspective of well-being. In fact, there are some great scholars like David Frawley, they suggest that yoga and Ayurveda must be understood and practiced in sync with each other, in synergy with each other. Many accomplished and very reputed yoga practitioners and yoga teachers and yoga masters, they are found to be great admirers and supporters of Ayurveda. That is why we are going to look at the idea of good life, idea of happy life, and we are taking the references from the Ayurvedic perspective because they are very much in sync with the yogic perspective. So, a quick recap as we do in all the sessions, we mentioned about the 4 factors identified in the Charak Samhita and other Ayurvedic texts. Those are Tattvavabodh, Indriya Jaya, Sukhayu Hitayu and Dharma Kriya. These are the 4 ways of attaining well-being and attaining happiness in life. And we also discussed that these 4 things are connected to each other. And in the last session, we had detailed discussion on Tattvavabodh and Indriya Jaya. In today's session, we are going to look at the following things. Number 1, we will recognize the wisdom as sign of Tattvavabodh, and we will also talk very briefly about the wisdom assessment information. In this session, we are going to explain the idea of Dharma Kriya, examine the different dimensions of Dharma Kriya, interrogate the Sukhayu Hitayu, the manifested form of good life or happy life is called to be Sukhayu Hitayu, and we are going to interrogate different characteristics, different elements of the Sukhayu and Hitayu, and we will look at how these 4 ways of attaining well-being are also very much in line with the current literature about attaining well-being at workplace. So, these 4 elements, these 4 ways of attaining happiness in life, well-being in life are equally relevant at workplace as well. That is my claim, and that is what I am going to explain towards the end of the session. So, we look at the wisdom, and if you recall our last session, we recognized that Tattvavabodh is reflected in wisdom. So, wisdom has cognitive, affective and cognitive, all 3 aspects included in it. The very famous paper in a very reputed journal Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA Psychiatry, talks about the 6 factors. We discussed these factors in the last session. Those who have registered for the NPTEL course, they must have received a link for the test of the on the wisdom scale. So, this wisdom scale it is a longish one. Initially it had 114 items, and now this scale is shortened. Participants must have received the shortened version. This captures the cognitive, reflective and affective, all three aspects of wisdom, that is a reflection of Tattvavabodh. This is developed by Erdland, very famous scale. So, as you take the scale based on your scores, you must have seen the interpretation of the scores as well. So, for that and that is only for those who have registered for the NPTEL course. Let us look at the third component about which we started our discussion in the last class, and the third component is dharmyah kriya. So, this text talks about harsh, meaning happiness. The nimitta, the reason for that, one of the predominant reason for that Charak identifies is dharmyah kriya, acting according to dharma, action according to dharma. And dharma is not religion, dharma is harmony within self and with outside social and natural environment. So, following dharma meaning living and behaving in harmony with self, with social and natural environment, and our constant endeavor to transcend our limited ego, constantly including so called others in our living, in our experience. So, this is in brief dharma is being defined, that is we have had discussion about this notion of dharma in the previous sessions as well. If we need to look at dharmyah kriya from this perspective of living this value in lifetime, this can be understood in three dimensions. These three dimensions are dharmic drishti, means our perspective, our way of looking at things; dharmic kriya, actually the intent or pursuit according to dharmic perspective; and dharmic livelihood, means action, how we integrate dharma in our day to day actions and day to day dispositions. If you look at the noble eightfold path of Buddha, this eightfold path also talks about samyak vani, samyak karya or samyak jivika. So, it also talks about right livelihood, right action and right speech, and we all know that dharma is a well accepted and anchoring concept in the Buddhist tradition as well. Let us look at these three elements in a little more detail. What should be the view, how we should look at world, that is the dharmic drishti. How do I look at the world? So, this drishti is reflected in the classic text, and which what we call prasthantrayi, that is Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita, and this is also translated in the Subhashitani, the popular text, popular shlokas which convey the deeper ideas in more understandable language, more operational language. So, this Subhashitani is very famous in India, and it goes like matravat paradareshu paradravyeshu loshtavat atmavat sarvabhuteshu ya pashyati sa pandita. So, this is the definition of the one who is knowledgeable. Who is the knowledgeable? The one who look at atmavat sarvabhuteshu, who looks at all the bhutas, all the elements of nature as is of his himself or herself. So, that is the sign of ultimate knowledge, who does not consider anyone as other. All this world is part of me, it is reflection of myself. This is given in Bhagavad Gita as well as Upanishad. In the Bhagavad Gita, the famous slok in the 6th chapter says that ikshate, meaning that who sees, yoga yuktatma, the one who is with yoga, yoga yukta, yukt means with, and Yog means the one who is with Yog, that Atma, Sarvatra Samadarshana, that who looks at everything and everybody with equanimity. So, that is what Bhagavad Gita says. True yogi is the one who sees everything in self and self in everything, all living being in God and God in all living being. So, Ishopanishad also says like this, Yastu Sarvani Bhutanyatma Atmaneva Anupashyati. Bhutanyat, so other living beings, Bhutanya Atmamanyeva, like self, Anupashyati, who sees that. Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam Tato Viju Gupsate, the one who looks at everybody, all the other organism as self, naturally all animosity and all fear will go away in his heart and in his mind. So, these are the signs, these are the examples of dharmic drishti, these are the explanation of the dharmic drishti, how to look at the world. The next part is what to pursue in the world. What is to be pursued? That is the second aspect of dharmic life or dharmyah kriya. So, what should be pursued? In life, what is worth pursuing are called purushartha, and these are four: dharma, artha, kam and moksha. Dharma, as being mentioned many times earlier, it is righteousness, virtue, duty arising from harmony with self and harmony with social and natural environment. Kam is fulfillment of our sensuous pleasure, biological needs, and artha is fulfillment of our social needs, that includes material gains, but artha also, in my understanding, includes acquisition of social recognition, reputation, all that which brings us reputation in the society. So, social recognition is the reflection, is the form of artha. Moksha is the liberation, that is a spiritual enlightenment. In yogic tradition, it is realization of Brahman, and in general in the Hindu tradition, it is called self realization. The real self is not which is limited by ignorance, limited by the ego, but real self is that bigger one. Real self is that which includes everything, and awakening to that. So, what? So, liberation from what? Liberation from the limited identity. So, moksha is the liberation from the limited identity to the cosmic or Brahmanic Brahma identity. So, these four aims highlight the harmony of different dimensions. The indica today's picture is taken from to explain this concept. Indica, many of you must be aware, is a very active organization which gives courses on the Indian tradition and Indian culture. In one of the lectures, artha, kam, dharma and moksha are compared with the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, and many of you must be aware of the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, which says that human beings live at different needs which are generally arranged at hierarchical level: physiological need, safety need, need for belongingness, having a self-esteem and self-actualization. Artha, they have compared that with the safety and physiological need. Kam is related to belonging and esteem needs, and dharma is related to self-actualization need. There is lot of debate whether needs are actually arranged in hierarchical manner or not, or they might be arising simultaneously. Some people may live at the higher level of needs without actually satisfying lower level of needs. All that debate is there in the Maslow's need hierarchy schema, but this comparison seems to be valid, and that is why it is included over here. The comparison of self actualization with dharma is also seems to be valid, because self actualization is our ability to be what we can be, and dharma is also realization of our true potential and realization of our true nature, and that realization and enacting on that nature in harmony with self and in harmony with the social and natural environment. So, that comparison seems to be valid, that is why this schema is here to further understand this idea of the dharma kriya and how it is connected to the one modern concept. None of these four is more or less important. That means dharma and moksha, they sound adhyatmic, they sound spiritual. Kam and earth, they sound mundane, more worldly. None of these four are more or less important. So, in our tradition, avidya is considered the one which is employed, which is about something other than Brahman, something other than adhyatma, something other than spiritual, that is called avidya. Vidya is considered only that pursuit which is to realize the Brahman or to realize our spiritual self or to awaken and evolve our adhyatmic or spiritual self. In Upanishad, it is said that andham tamah pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya iv te tamo ya udvidyayam ratah. That means they who follow avidya enter into gloomy darkness. Andham tamah pravishanti, they enter into the darkness. Who enter the darkness? Ye vidyamnupasyate, those who only follow the vidya. Tato bhuya iv te, those as well enter into the gloomy darkness who only follow avidya. So, only following vidya and only following avidya, both will lead to darkness, and the Ishopanishad further in the other mantras says that we have to follow all four, vidya and avidya, dharma, artha, kam, moksha. Of course, artha and kam must be governed by, must be limited by, must be disciplined by the dharma, and all that should lead to moksha, the liberation. That is the ultimate objective, and dharma is the pivot around which artha and kam have to be managed. So, that is the second aspect of dharmya kriya. Third aspect of dharmya kriya is right livelihood, dharmic livelihood. Why we enter into livelihood? Why we pursue livelihood? To pursue, to get artha, to get prosperity. The prosperity in the Indian tradition is reflected in the form of goddess Lakshmi. In the tradition, 8 types of Lakshmis are identified. That means livelihood should be aimed at attaining any or more than one Lakshmis as explained here. So, different form of Lakshmis are Adi Lakshmi, that is the central one you see in this picture. Adi Lakshmi is the eternal Lakshmi, that gives spiritual pursuit, that gives spiritual awakening. So, if people are able to integrate their livelihood with their spiritual urge, then they get the Adi Lakshmi, means the ultimate Lakshmi from where all other Lakshmis actually emanate. Second aspect is Dhana Lakshmi. We all know, we all work for prosperity. Dhanya Lakshmi, that which gives food, crop, that is related to Dhanya Lakshmi. Gaja Lakshmi, that gives cattle power. We all know that even today, lot of societies are agrarian societies or societies which are predominantly based on whose economy is predominantly based on the cattle. Santan Lakshmi, the progeny. Progeny is also reflection, is a kind of prosperity. So, that is reflected in this picture with the Lakshmi having a small child in her lap. Veer Lakshmi and Dhairya Lakshmi, that is the another form of Lakshmi. Valor, self management, Dhairya also means patience. These aspects are also very important in some of the professions, some of the livelihoods. For example, in the armed forces, they pursue valor, they pursue discipline. So, they are actually pursuing Veer Lakshmi or Dhairya Lakshmi. Jaya Lakshmi and Vijaya Lakshmi, these are those form of Lakshmis which give power for realizing our Shubha Sankalp, right intentions. Many of us have right intentions, many of us have Shubha Sankalp, many of us wish to do good things. Many a time our Sankalpas, our deep resolve are not able to fructify, and that spiritual power which gives us energy to fructify, to materialize our right intentions, that power is embodied in the form of Jaya Lakshmi or Vijaya Lakshmi. Those who are listening to this lecture, some of their name also may be like Jaya Lakshmi and Vijaya Lakshmi. These are very common names. And last is Vidya Lakshmi, that is knowledge. So, that form of Lakshmi, that form of livelihood where people pursue knowledge, that is blessed by the spiritual power called Vidya Lakshmi. So, livelihood should be in line with acquiring, having Lakshmi, having the blessing of Lakshmi, not acquiring, because Lakshmi is form of the mother. You cannot acquire mother, you can only pray to mother, or you can only get sneha, get affection from the mother, you can't acquire mother. So, that is why Lakshmi or prosperity in the yogic tradition is not acquired, it is embraced, it is respected. So, these are the form of Lakshmis, and interestingly when this typology was explained in the classical text, somebody would have asked that we see in society people who collect prosperity and collect crop and they attain prosperity even with the unholy means, dishonest ways. So, will that prosperity be not be called Lakshmi? So, for that prosperity which is attained without following dharma is called a-Lakshmi, means that might be money, but that is not qualified to be called Lakshmi. So, a-Lakshmi is also one of the terms used to explain this idea of livelihood must be anchored in the righteousness, in the harmony with self and the social and natural environment. Let us look at how dharma kriya, dharmyah kriya is in line with the modern positive psychological findings. Dharmyah kriya includes realization of self and expression of the power of self, expression of the talent of the self for the well-being of all. That is the essence of dharmyah kriya. If we look at the positive psychology, the foundational theory, it also talks about self-determination theory. Self-determination theory also says that human beings have tendency and power to get the autonomy. They want to have control over their environment. They have another tendency to develop competency. We have had more discussion on this in the second or third session. So, human beings have urge to get autonomy, to develop competency and develop belongingness, to build groups, to make families, to build communities. All these are natural expressions of human nature. So, in the dharmya kriya as well, people actually realize their autonomy, their competence and their belongingness, the tendency to belongingness with the family, society and community. The work of Elizabeth Dunn is very interesting in this regard. So, she has looked at the connection between money and happiness. Dunn and colleague have found that happiness and money are connected only to some extent. Beyond that extent, additional money does not give us happiness. Actually, it has small negative connection with the happiness. So, when more money can give happiness, money can give happiness beyond the point where people can fulfill their basic requirements. Money can give happiness only when they are able to use it for the altruistic purpose, when they are able to use it for the social cause, and when they get benefit and when they get happiness by spending money for the social cause is when they have a sense of connection for which they are spending money. So, there has to be some connection, there has to be a sense of connection, impact, when they see the impact of their work, the positive impact of their work, that increases the happiness. Then and third is choice, when they have choice of spending money for a particular purpose, for the particular project which they feel connected to. So, connection, impact and choice, these three things when they are there, then only additional money, additional beyond a point where it satisfies the basic needs, additional money can give happiness only when it is spent with the sense of connection, impact and choice. Work of Bruce Hide is also very insightful about Dharmya Kriya. What it says, and before we understand the work of Hide and colleagues, we need to understand this a theory called set point theory. Set point theory is the concept or a theoretical proposition based on which at least 25-30 years people build policies, and the whole thinking about happiness was around this set point theory. What it says, that people have a set point about their happiness. So, people can be different in terms of their happiness, but what is the point of happiness for a person, that remains almost the same. So, if something bad happens in life, they come down to the happiness scale, but then after some time they come back to that set point. Similarly, if something great happens in their life, their happiness increases for some time, but then after that their happiness level comes to the original level. So, there is a set point, we cannot do much in terms of the policy formulation or some social interventions to enhance the level of happiness of the people. This proposition is seriously challenged by Bruce Hade and his colleague. What they have done, they looked at the panel data in Germany, and this panel data is very extensively collected at the time frame of 30 years. So, they looked at the 30-year time frame about people's satisfaction of life, their life preferences, their life choices. So, it is a very extensive survey, and these 30,000 households are involved in this survey. So, instead of looking at year to year regression between life satisfaction, happiness and other factors, they clubbed the data for 5 years. So, they looked at the average of 5 years, and what they found, that over the years there were people whose happiness levels increased. So, that was the major blow to set point theory, which was about believing that people generally have one set point of their level of happiness. They found that there are quite a few people whose happiness is actually increasing very significantly in the when we combine the data in the chunk of 5 years. So, the next question was, what was increasing, what were the factors behind increase and permanent increase in the happiness, and what they found was that economic goals were not explaining the increase in the happiness. There were some non-economic goals which were increasing the which were making the permanent increase in the happiness. What was those non-economic goals? Those non-economic goals were social participation, engaging with some socially relevant projects, some social work, some helping with some sections of society, commitment for some larger purpose. These things were associated with increase in the happiness level. Healthy lifestyle and transferability through parents, these are also two very important factors. People, by changing health to the happy lifestyle, and that also that includes inclusion of yogic practices in our day to day life, that is found to be associated with the permanent increase in the happiness. One more finding is that the happiness of children is closely associated with the happiness of parents. So, as a parents, we can influence just by our personality, we can influence the happiness level of the children just by the way we are. At the same time, they found that children could change their level of happiness by their individual efforts. So, it is not only what is received genetically or in the family. Children can actually put in effort and enhance their level of happiness by social participation and healthy lifestyle. So, these are some of the interesting findings in the modern positive psychology and the general psychology, which suggest that dharmyah kriya, that means working for the social cause, larger purpose, is deeply connected. Nimit, what this sutra say is nimit of happiness, nimit of harsh. Here I would like to have a little divergence from the ongoing lecture. We are discussing the different factors of well-being and we will continue to discuss, but I am tempted to pose this question to all those who are watching this video. If happiness is dependent on so many non-economic factors. So, by the way, in the German panel data, there was no significant difference in the happiness across different professions or across different income groups. So, happiness is dependent and change in the happiness dependent a lot on the non-economic factors, and it is so much so that how we choose our life goal, how we choose and build our relationships, our engagement with the social and natural environment, this is connected with all these things. Then why our education system is predominantly focused on the economic factors and the core professional competencies which are mostly economic in nature? Why we do not give sufficient input on choosing the life goal more consciously, choosing and building relationship in more effective ways, and engaging with the social and natural environment? This is just a divergence. I hope there is a serious discussion on this aspect of education, which is so deeply influential on the quality of life, on the level of happiness we live at. So, coming back to the fourth aspect of happiness, that is called Sukhayu Hitayu. You can read little more on this aspect of Ayu and Vaya on the page of this website dharmawiki.org. On this page, author explains the difference between Ayu and Vaya. So, age is English term, but in Sanskrit and many other Indian languages, there are two terms which are commonly used, Ayu and Vaya. Ayu is biological age, Vaya is the corresponding age with the biological age. So, Vaya can be understood in three ways. So, we have a word called Vayo Vradha, means the one who is Vradha, which is grown up, who is grown up by Vaya. But there are two other kind of elders, Tapovradha and Jnanavradha. Tapovradha, the one who has done sacrifice for the larger purpose, and Jnanavradha, who is more knowledgeable. So, Ayu, the quality of Ayu is connected with Hitayu. Sukhayu meaning happy life. Sukh we all know is happiness. This is intertwined with Hitayu. Hitayu means that which is good for others. So, Sukhayu, Hitayu are attained together. If we do not live Hitayu, if our Ayu is not used for the well-being and happiness of others, then it cannot be Sukhayu, it will be Dukhayu, life of misery. So, these are the two definitions of Sukhayu, Hitayu. Sukhayu is defined as Tratyayuruktam Swalakshanato Yatha Vidhayavahaiva Purvadhyaye Cha. Now, there are characteristics of Sukhayu, and we will look at these characteristics in the Anvaya, in the Sandhi Vichhet form, so that we can understand this long sutra word by word. Similarly, Hitayu is defined as Hitaishanah Punarbhutanam Paraswada Paratasya Satyavadinah Shamaparastya, etc. etc. So, there are characteristics of the Hitayu. These both factors go together as per the yogic tradition. So, look at Sukhayu. Sukhayu has these characteristics like Sharir Manasabhyam Rogabhyam Anabhidra Tasya, those whose body and mind are disease free. Yavanavata, so if they are disease free, how they will look like? Yavanavata, like youth, youth like, endowed with youth. Samartha Anugata, and it has following things. What are those? Bala, Virya, Yash, Paurush, Parakramasya, strength, virility, reputation, manliness and courage. Jnana, Vijnana, Indriyartha, Bala, endowed with knowledge, meaning Jnana and Vijnana, that means art and science both. Indriyartha, healthy senses. Artha, object of the sensory perceptions. Bal, ability of the sensory organs. Param riddhi, riches. Ruchir vivid upabhogasya, various luxurious articles people can enjoy. Samradha sarvarambhasya, who can achieve what they start. Many of us are good at taking initiatives, not able to achieve, not able to fulfill that. So, that is also one very important factor of Sukhayu, what our ability to complete and finish what we wish to achieve. Yatheshta Vicharinah, those who can roam as they please, those who are autonomous, who are psychologically independent of moving around. So, these are the characteristics of Sukhayu. Now, look at the characteristics of Hitayu. Hitaishinah Punarbhutanam, those who are the well-wishers of all being. Paraswadu Paratasya, who do not desire wealth of others. And if you remember, the first mantra of Ishopanishad also talks about not desiring wealth of others. Satyavadina, who are truthful. Shamaparasya, who are peace loving, who are self contained. Pariksha Karina, those who are thoughtful before taking any action, they do the pariksha, they examine the suitability of their action. Apramatasya, who are not lethargic and who are not laid back, those who are vigilant. Trivargam parasparini. Trivargam, we just discussed about dharma, artha, kam. This is called trivarga. Result of this, doing these things well, naturally results into moksha. So, that is not counted here, that is why it is called three varga. So, Trivarg, who experience the three important objectives of life, that is dharma, artha, kama, anupaham upaseva manasya, without one affecting with others. Whatever you do, people will comment. Those who are seriously committed for some good cause, for them as well, some people may comment adversely. So, the people having ability to ignore those comments without not being affected by those comments, that is the characteristic of Hitayu. Because if we get too sensitive and touchy about others' comments, we will not be able to remain focused on our actual task. Those who respect superiors, those who have jnana, vijnana, upashama who are endowed with knowledge and humility, vradha upasevina, who serve elder, who respect the elders because elders have insights, elders can have experience, they can give something which in terms of knowledge and insights which you may take years to acquire. Suniyat, who are in full control, rag, rosh, irsha, mad, man, vegasya. So, these likes and dislikes, jealousy, egoisticness, egotism, these things generally come as vague, they come as our dispositions, very fast mental waves. Those who have the ability to control these waves, satatam vividha pradana parasya, who constantly indulge in various type of charity, who has the giving attitude. So, many of us must have heard this term go getter. The Hitayu means not go getter, Hitayu means go giver, who has the tendency to keep giving whatever in his or her capacity. So, that is the sign of Hitayu. Tapah, jnana, prashamam nityasya, those who are regularly engaged in the sacrifice, regularly engaged in meditation, regularly engaged in sadhana, not those kind of people who go to gym 1 week and then they stop going, those who start yogic practices and then they stop after 3 days. No, the Hitayu will not get realized in their life. We need to have commitment and consistency. So, those who have this commitment and consistency for the right practices, adhyatma vid tat parasya, who have the full adhyatmic knowledge, who have the commitment to know their true self and realize harmony within. That is the sign of Hitayu. Lokam imam cha amuchav chena manasya, who work both for the present as well as for the future, who have the long term perspective, and smriti matimata, who endowed with memory, who do not forget the right teachings, who do not let go their intelligence and clouded by their impulsive tendencies. These are the sign of Sukhayu, Hitayu. And what is the sign of Dukhayu and Ahitayu? And only one term is given. What Charak says, Asukho mato viparyarena. Those who have opposite of it, they get Asukhayu or Dukhayu. Or here also gives the opposite definition in the two words, ahitamato viparyarena. Ahitayu is the one which has opposite of all this, and Sukhayu is the one which has opposite of all this. This is the definition of Sukhayu and Hitayu. Let us look at these concepts, the concept of Sukhayu and Hitayu in light of the science of happiness. So, can you recall few concepts we discussed in the very first session? you might recall the concept of hedonism and eudaimonism. Eudaimonic happiness, eudaimonic aspect of life, very popular in the Greek philosophy, also talks about hetayu, the life of virtue. Aristotle also talks about these virtues, virtue as the foundation of ethics as well as foundation of happiness, and these thoughts are very well reflected in the notion of hitayu. So, if hitayu, that is benevolent life, and sukhayu is the happy life, if benevolent life is happy life, does money feature somewhere in this equation? Certainly money features, money is important. That means money here means all material possessions, they are important, but they enhance the quality of life only when that money and material possession are directed and used for the larger purpose. If that is not directed, money cannot enhance my happiness. So, ultimately what makes us happy and satisfied? The life goal, social capital, altruistic behavior, these things explain happiness more than money, achievement and power, and that is reflected in the Bruce Hayes research, that is reflected in the Dunn's research and many other research studies. And these are actually suggesting that the schema which is given in the yogic tradition of Sukhayu and Hitayu fits very well with the contemporary knowledge systems. Let us look at how these factors then are connected to career success. So, first look at the Tattvavabodh. This course is also about managing career. How these four factors which are related to the satisfaction, happiness in life, they are connected to and are they relevant for the career? Let us look at first thing, Tattvavabodh. Knowing a subject, knowing about the essence of the matter, that is the worldly meaning of Tattvavabodh. If we look at the job performance, it is dependent on three factors: declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge and motivation. Declarative knowledge is the core competency, core technical knowledge. If I am a software coding professional, I need to know the coding. If I am an advocate, I need to know the law. If I am a scientist, I need to know the science, I need to know the theory and ways of experimenting. That is the declarative knowledge. But there is also something called procedural knowledge. I might be very good at experimentation, I might be very good at law, I might be very good at whatever the job, maybe job of designing, job of recording, job of software development, I might be good at that. But in the organization, just knowing my craft is not sufficient. I need to have the procedural knowledge. What is the meaning of procedural knowledge? Procedural knowledge meaning my knowledge about how to pursue an idea or how to pursue an objective within the organizational setting. In all organizations, there are certain hierarchies, organization structure, there is certain type of culture, there are systems and processes. Whatever I wish to accomplish in my job, it will not get automatically implemented. I need to know the procedure through which I can accomplish thing. I might be having some great idea, but if I know how to pursue this idea, how to put forth this idea, how to shape up this idea in connection with my departmental authorities or in connection with the organizational process and system, I will not be able to implement that idea. So, procedural knowledge is important. Tattvavabodh talks about both, knowing the essence of a thing. Second aspect, Indriyajaya. To understand Indriyajaya, I would like to quote the work of Brooke and Ghoshal. Dr. late Professor Sumanta Ghoshal, the great management thinker India has produced, is co-author in this project. They looked at most effective and they studied many thousands of the managers in some of the very well known organizations. So, these organizations were like Jet Airways and Boeing and many other very reputed organizations. They studied, Brook was perhaps his PhD student, they studied hundreds of managers, and what they found that all managers are not equally efficient. We all know different people operate at different level of effectiveness. What they identified, that effectiveness of the managers can be understood by placing them on the 2 continuum, on the 2 by 2 matrix. If we put energy in one continuum and focus on another continuum, energy meaning how much vitality with which I pursue a task, and focus, that means how long I remain connected and at work at a problem. So, focus and energy seems to be the defining features of the most effective manager. So, people might be looking very busy, but they might not be focused, they might not be giving enough energy, they might not be working with the full intensity. So, that is why the title of their article is also interesting. The title is Beware of Busy Manager. So, busy manager is not necessarily more effective or competent manager. So, what makes people effective and competent at work? That is energy and focus. Those who have high energy and high focus, they are called purposeful manager, and they are the most effective manager, and they are in short supply. In their study, they found that there are only 10% managers at workplace who can be called purposeful manager. Others, and large number of that, are distracted managers. Those who have high energy, but they do not have good focus. There are 20% who are disengaged, who remain at task, but they do not give sufficient intensity, they do not take that work, they carry out their work with the sufficient intensity. So, they are called disengaged manager, and there are people who keep complaining about things. Those are generally low on energy as well as focus. That is also a big chunk. 30% in their study were found to be procrastinating managers. How it is connected to Indriya Jaya? Without controlling on the senses, and manas is also considered as Indriya. Without control of mana and other senses, we cannot remain focused at work. Energy focus matrix reflects the importance of Indriya Jaya. Third aspect is Dharmyah Kriya or Dharma Kriya. Ethics, values, fairness, integrity. These are some of the most important values to remain in job and to grow in the job. In some organizations, people might be having little comparatively lower competency on their professional dispositions. The professional proficiency might be little lower, but that person can be promoted if the person is high on ethics, values, fairness and integrity, and managers who are might be otherwise little higher on the proficiency, professional acumen, but if they are not right, if they are not operating at the higher level of ethics, values, fairness and integrity, they are not promoted. And that is why in large number of organizations, along with the professional work, there is an assessment of the things which we can easily club into Dharmyah Kriya. So, I might be doing business, I might be doing my technical work, but if I am not doing it ethically, if I do not follow the organization's values, if I am not fair with my colleagues and my team members, and if I do not operate with the integrity, there are less chances, very bleak chances that I can grow in the profession. I may grow in the short run, but in the long run these things get exposed, and there are hundreds of studies suggesting that professional career success is deeply connected to all these 4 aspects. The 4th aspect is Sukhayu Hitayu, means happy life is the benevolent life, or benevolent life can be the happy life. We can here discuss only one construct, that is called organization citizenship behavior. My willingness to take extra mile, my willingness to walk extra mile to fulfill organizational objectives, and my willingness to help my colleagues going out of my regular job description. That is found to be one of the distinguishing features of likability of the people, trustworthiness of the people, innovation by the people. Those who are able to, those who are willing to go extra mile are able to get more insight about their work, and they are found to be more innovative. So, many positive organizational outcomes are connected, they are associated with the organization citizenship behavior, which says that hit doing good for others for not want of immediate return is one of the things which makes person effective and successful in his career. Tvavabodh, Indriya Jaya, Dharma Kriya, Sukhayu and Hitayu, those factors were identified many years ago, perhaps many centuries ago. The modern organizational behavioral science is validating these aspects and suggesting that these are still important and they are going to remain important in the career as well. So, now look at how Yoga completes the positive psychology in light of the definition or in light of the ways of well-being what we discussed in this session. One of the things we observe in the positive psychology literature is that we are having some findings here and there about aspects which are related to it, but Yoga gives a complete holistic perspective. Still in the positive psychology we do not have well developed constructs which capture the essence of Tattvavabodh, but that is the foundation. The foundational element of happiness is knowing. It is captured to some extent in the cognitive behavior therapy, but it is not well connected with the other aspects of the positive psychology. So, Yoga and Ayurvedic perspective provides a holistic way of approaching life and approaching career. Yoga also provides physio-psychological, ethico-moral and psycho-spiritual understanding and experience. Yoga by definition is experiential pursuit. So, whereas psychology, most of the interventions are limited to Manomaya Kosh, they are limited to the emotional self, they are to some extent related to some aspects of the Vijnanamaya Kosh, but mostly they are focused on Manomaya Kosh. However, we have looked at in the previous sessions that we are not only our mind, emotions and cognition. Our self is also physical self, our self is also vital self. We do not have interventions in positive psychology on the physical self, vital self, or it does not have the interventions at the higher aspects of the cognition, higher aspects of the Vijnanamaya Kosh. Yoga provides intervention for all these aspects. That is why yoga can complete the positive psychology. Yam Niyam are the ways of attaining Indriya Jaya, Dharmaya Kriya, Sukhayu, Hitayu. These are very well captured in the yoga as well. Yoga actually leads to Tattvavabodh. That is a different level of knowing, that is embodied knowing, that is knowing which is not only related to the at the conceptual level, that is not only related to the conscious knowing, it is also deeply connected to the deeper aspect of knowing which are embodied in nature. That is called interoception. So, the yoga provides building our enhancing our interoception, and that is connected to lot many other aspects which are important for success in life and success in career. So, in a nutshell, yoga provides a holistic method and approach to attain all three aspects of well-being, that is hedonistic well-being, eudaimonic well-being and transcendental well-being, which is the unique feature of the Indian understanding, yogic understanding of happiness.